maybe that's a hard and fast rule. Maybe you should just fucking always start with Batman, because trying to establish Batman after you've already established other superheroes in a world makes it really, really fucking difficult to contend with. Why some rich playboy would look at his crime-ridden city and instead of using his grand resources to contact any of the other superheroes in the world to come get them to fix his problem, why he would instead strap on a bunch of black leather and rubber and start beating people with his hands.
Yeah.
His perfectly normal human hands.
Oh, jeez.
Well, because he's a normal human and all of his abilities, all of his skills come from years of training, Batman's origin story, by definition, has to be longer than any other superhero's origin story. It has to take a larger percentage of his life. You can't wake up one day and suddenly be Batman the way Green Lantern is.
Right. And
yes, Superman arrives as a baby.
Yeah, but he's pretty much just Superman.
If that's the story you want to write, you can have him fighting crime pretty much from the moment he can walk. So, say, the TV show Smallville.
Right.
Like, he's not Superman, quote-unquote, yet, but
he's Clark
Kent,
as well Kryptonian.
There's not
Kal-El.
There's not going to be... Oh, well, wait, wasn't there a thing in Smallville where he was, like, discovering his powers? Like, he couldn't fly.
Yeah, his powers took a while to develop, and that, I think, is actually, like, a thing that DC has long used to, like, explain Golden Age Superman, who, like, could only leap tall buildings in a single bound, and not just fucking fly. Because, like, his powers hadn't fully developed, so he didn't know he could fly until, like, he had to or something.
But point being, he's still fucking Superman.
Right, he's still Superman. That's the thing, right?
He's still like, automatically going to do better in a knife fight than you or I will.
Yes. That he will always win unless the knife is made of kryptonite. It is a thing about DC and Marvel in their core differences, like dating back to basically since Marvel has existed. And this is a cognizant, conscious thing from Stan Lee, where, like, back in the day, the DC heroes that DC is trying to push as, like, the ones that they're putting in the movie, Barry Allen, and, like, the first Aquaman, and, like, fucking Wonder Woman even, and Superman and Batman, sure, though they've been reinvented since then, is that they were powers first back in the day. Like, who cares about Batman being sad that his parents are dead? What matters is that he's an awesome ninja who beats people up. And, like, who gives a shit about Superman's moral struggle to exert power over the weakened masses and, you know, how he can maintain his humanity while being so detached? Like, who gives a shit about any of that? He just punches people. So this is part of why I think, like, the Green Lantern movie fucking failed. Because, like... Thanks, Garth. Hal Jordan,
like... Bessela put on some goddamn clothes.
Yeah, for real.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Hal Jordan's whole thing is, like, his fucking backstory is just like, hey, so, an alien just died in front of you, wanna be a space cop? And then he was a space cop. Like, that's the entire story. It's not like fucking, Kyle Rayner or Jon Stewart were like, John is,
I don't
architect.
Agree. I don't think the initial idea, and I think you're also being reductionist about what the initial ideas were, but I don't think the initial idea being simplistic automatically means that you're less able to tell compelling stories from it. Like, the problem with Green Lantern isn't
I don't think
that the Green Lantern story is simplistic. It's the fact that the Green Lantern movie sucked.
It sucked, but
There's
I
nothing
think
responsible for that.
They were trying to make the Batman part of it, which Batman's story has been reinvented over and over, so it's like nice and fleshed out before he actually like becomes the Batman. But like they didn't flesh any of that out. They like
exactly, and that's the problem. The problem isn't that the story is simplistic.
Yeah,
the problem
what I'm saying is that they relied on just
that
origin.
They didn't make it not.
They just assumed that an origin is automatically appealing to people, as opposed to realizing that, like, no, you need a Spider-Man type of deal where he like grows through all this shit. I
think that's a false differentiation to draw that as a line between DC and Marvel, because, like, What's Thor's origin story? He's just a fucking god. But the reason the first Thor movie is better than the Green Lantern movie is because the point of the first Thor movie isn't, oh, he's just a fucking god, so he hits shit with a hammer and that's it.
Oh, yeah,
it's almost that, but Kenneth Branagh built on that at least a little bit and built something of an interesting story of like learning lessons about humility and sacrifice. And
well, like that has been a part of Thor since the beginning. Like, they actually took out some of it, which is, like, this is to make it work with the greater universe, and also I think it's not necessarily a more interesting story, and it was kind of, like, just a gimmick at the time. But, like, when Thor first appeared, he was, like, just... Odin, you know, got pissed at him for being such a little shitbag, and being a brat, generally. But, like, Thor's got, you know, his power stripped from him, and had to be a human whose name... I'm forgetting Donald something, not Trump. But, like, he had a walking stick that he would, like, tap to turn into Thor.
That would be a terrifying realization to find out that Trump has been Thor this whole time.
That would be super scary. Also, I got, like, a Pazak deck here and a Pazak side deck, and wow. Maybe, did I have these all along? No way, right? Because we've tried to play Pazak, right? Like, that's definitely been a thing. Let me save real quick since we just wrapped up that HK part. And he did great. Everybody give HK 47 a hand. Woo! HK, have my droid babies. Anyway.
This, really, the only point I was trying to make is I think most Marvel characters are closer to each other in quality.
Yes.
So you can make a better argument for, like, oh, we'll start off our cinematic universe with Spider-Man, or Spider-Man can sustain his own cinematic universe, or oh, we'll have a cinematic universe of just X-Men, or oh, we'll start with Iron Man, or oh, we'll start with the Hulk, or probably don't start with Thor, but, like, I could see someone making an argument about that. They'd be wrong, but I could see someone reasonable and rational thinking that.
Yes.
As opposed to DC, who has the greatest superhero of all time, regardless of which...
You got the Batman.
...comic publisher you're coming from. Like, I do like other DC superheroes too, but they're competing with the best superhero character of all time. It's just hard to prioritize other things over Batman. I think probably everyone watching this channel is aware of my very, very, very delusional fantasy, my want that I held a hopeless candle for right up until I finished watching Batman vs. Superman for the first time. That Ben Affleck wasn't playing Bruce Wayne Batman.
It was Dick Grayson.
That he was fucking anyone. I didn't care. But that it was in the same continuity as the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah.
And this hope originated with hoping that Man of Steel would end with, or have a post-credit sequence where Michael Caine or Joseph Gordon-Levitt or Christian Bale or any combination thereof shows up to Henry Cavill at the end of the movie and goes, you really need to be wearing a mask.
Yeah.
Or like something like that, just some stinger to show that Batman came first.
Yeah. I know. But, and here's the thing, right? Like, it's not just that, I don't think it's just that Marvel characters are generally closer in quality. It's that, like, DC has characters who are like that. They just don't want them to be the iconic ones.
That are like what?
Like an Iron Man or a Thor or a...
Oh, no, I agree. Sorry, I meant that, like... So who's the greatest Marvel superhero? Right, it's probably Spider-Man?
Probably Spider-Man,
I would guess?
Yeah. In my opinion, it is definitely Spider-Man.
And I think you can make an argument, Spider-Man certainly being the most popular Marvel character, and you could make a lot of arguments for why in terms of character design, in terms of power balance, in terms of great, well written stories centered around Spider-Man, why beyond just your personal feelings about him or the raw math of him being the most popular Marvel superhero. I think there are a lot of genuine arguments to be made for Spider-Man being the most popular superhero of all time. Popular Marvel superhero of all time. The point that I am trying to make is that I think... So if we pick, like, a second-tier superhero from each, let's say, like... because we've already mentioned both of them, Green Lantern and Thor.
Right.
Does that feel like an appropriate equivalency to you? Ish?
Yeah, more or less.
On the whole, I mean, I know this is kind of apples and oranges.
Yeah.
But the point I'm trying to make is I
work.
think the distance between Spider-Man and Thor is less than the distance between Batman and Green Lantern.